Today, I'm going to talk about a newspaper article that I'd found um, when we were on holiday in Tenerife. I don't normally get hard copies of UK papers, but anyway, did do, and there was a very interesting story. But before we get to that, I think I need to explain some important concepts first. The first one is the difference between natural law theory and social contract theory. So natural law theory is based on the view that there's a set of universal, objective moral principles that are inherent in nature, and we can understand what these principles are through human reasoning. They just ring true to us. They strike a chord with us. So natural law goes back a long way, as well, back to the medieval period, and Thomas Aquinas, and he argued that natural law is derived from God's eternal law, and as I said before a minute ago, it's accessible to human beings through logical deduction and reasoning. So in a nutshell, natural law, it could be summed up as we should do no harm. So we shouldn't steal other people's property. We shouldn't inflict physical harm on other people, or even take the life of another person, except for in self-defense. We shouldn't try to steal other people's free will through lying and deception. And it's my belief that natural law, or society, individuals within society, of their own free will, voluntarily going along with this principle of natural law, it's necessary for humanity to flourish. So what happens when people break natural law, when they do harm others or take away other people's free will through deception? In short, you could sum it up as, well, every action creates a reaction. There are consequences and sequels of actions, and that includes actions that are in breach of natural law. So there's various ways of explaining this. Eastern religions, they talk about karma. In the Bible, you kind of reap the seeds that you sow. And what that means is that it's only a matter of time. You can't steal from people. You can't commit acts of violence against people. You can't deceive people and get away with it forever. Your actions will have negative consequences on you. This is a crucial aspect of natural law. Nobody in this life gets away with anything. Not in the long run, at any rate. Now, I don't know about you, but I actually have observed this myself. In the last school that I worked at, there were some extremely rich people who'd acquired money in maybe morally dubious ways. So were they happy? Well, no, they weren't, because they'd acquired their wealth and income, in many cases, in breach of natural law, and there was negative consequences for them as a result of that. So does the big club, are they aware of this? Are they aware of natural law and the fact that if you act in breach of natural law, there are adverse consequences that will come to you? As far as I'm concerned, I think it's pretty obvious that they are aware of it. Now, this is where social contract theory comes into play. So according to contract theory, social contract theory, the legitimacy of government authority and legal systems, it comes from a hypothetical consensual agreement, or maybe even contract among the individuals in a society. Now, that contract might not be explicit, it might be implied. And a good example of that would be the current system of government that we have. That I was watching or reading a tweet from Zuby today, and he basically said, and I put it on my community page, and he basically said that if you have to pay somewhere between 40% and 60% of your income to stay out of jail. So according to Locke, individuals form governments to protect these basic human rights, and political authority is legitimate only if it's based on the consent of the government. Rousseau, I think, is a little bit more, he'd be a bit more in line with Klaus Schwab and Tony Blair. In his essay, The Social Contract, Rousseau emphasised the importance of sovereignty and the general will of the people. And according to him, legitimate political authority arises from the collective will of the people, who agree to form a society governed by laws that reflect what politicians believe to be, or how they've defined, the common good. So conclusions so far is like, what I believe is that the big club, they understand natural law, they're working on social contract theory, and in summary, what they believe is that so long as we agree to being governed, that allows them to escape the natural law consequences of their actions. And this is why, of course, they have to tell us what they're doing. And they also have to tell us about the people in charge who are doing it to us. And this is what this newspaper article is about. So this is the newspaper I was talking about. So Daily Mail from Friday the February the 14th, 2025. So the kind of front page story is about the UK's Chancellor of the Exchequer. So this is next to the Prime Minister. This is the second most senior political position of office in the UK. And it says here on the front page, it says, amid row over her exaggerated CV. So somebody has been economical with the truth here. The person that's in the second most senior political position in England, this is who we're talking about. It's been revealed that she was doing some interesting things with her expenses. So it says here, Rachel Reeves was last night under pressure to come clean about her employment past amid claims she was investigated for fiddling her expenses. It also sort of talks about, what she was using the money for. Then we've got this in the second page. We've got about how £23 billion of your money's been spent extra on the NHS, and it's not reaching frontline services. We've got David Lammy. He's been in the news yesterday, I think it was, for a taxi ride that he didn't pay for. They expected some taxi driver to drive him for hours and hours and hours across a border and not pay. And then we've got some more about Rachel Reeves. So what's the point of this? The point of this is that, according to the principle of natural law, they have to tell us what they're doing to escape the karmic consequences of what they're doing. And if we do nothing and we just go along with it, then they escape those karmic consequences. They'll just fall on us. And so this will beg a question, like, what should we do about it? Well, at the very least, we should be expressing our opinions about this and saying that we don't consent to it. And that's quite different from, I think personally, I'll always pay what taxes these scumbags have told me to pay, because they will use the state's monopoly of violence against me. But that doesn't stop me from saying that I don't consent. And this is very, very powerful, you see, if you understand the way that natural law works. All it will take is for us to say, no, we don't consent to this way of our lives being run for us by the likes of Rachel Reeves and Keir Starmer. That's all we have to do, is to express our view that we are aware of this and we do not consent to it. So I'll give you an example, I think, of where natural law came into play. So if you go back to the People's Pantomime, just before the Ukraine war started, there was huge demonstrations in London, and very, very shortly afterwards, they had to call it off. They had to call off the biomedical fascism, because it was evident that we weren't consenting to it. There was a critical mass of people who weren't consenting to it. And that led the globalists. They knew that they had to call it off, because if they didn't, the karmic consequences of their actions would fall on them. It's just the way that natural law works. And this is what I was saying, when I did the voiceover bit, is that their kind of like political system, it relies on our implied consent to it, and all we have to do is just explicitly remove that consent, and we do that by just telling them. So writing letters, doing YouTube videos, going on peaceful demonstrations to show them that we do not consent. And that's all I want to say today. So God bless.